friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. So today I have a super fun video for you guys. I'm actually doing a collaboration with my good friend Kari Webster of KW Card Design here on YouTube. And we're both going to be using this new Lawn Fawn Meow You Doing stamp set, as well as the Perfectly Plaid Rainbow 6x6 pattern paper pack. And then I'll also be using the little kitten from A Bicycle Built for You. So I've started out by stamping all my images on some Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink because I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers today. And I'm going to begin by doing my shading with the W1, and I'm going to just draw in some shadows for myself. Now the great thing about coloring cats is that there are so many possibilities of variations to color them. And I wasn't sure at this point which direction I wanted to go, so I decided to just shade them as if they were white. I knew there would be at least some white portion on each of these cats, and even if I color over this shading later with another color, it still gives me a guideline for that shadow. So the W1 wasn't quite dark enough for me, so I decided to go in with the W3 in just a few places, and then I'm going back with my W1 and just blending that out. Then I'm going to take my W00 and just soften out the edge of that so that it blends into white. And then I'm just going to repeat these same steps for the other cat and the little kitten. As soon as I saw this little cat from the Bicycle Built for You set, I knew that he would be the perfect addition to this Meow You Doing stamp set. That is the great thing about Lawn Fawn images, is that they work so well together. And even though that cat is designed small because he's supposed to fit in the basket of a bicycle, I knew that next to these larger cat images he would look like a kitten. And today seemed like the perfect opportunity to combine them. In fact, the minute that we saw these sneak peeked on social media, Kari and I both got so excited because I knew she had been waiting for Lawn Fawn to do some cat images for quite some time, since the Critters in the Dog Park had come out quite a while earlier. And she has two cats named Katie and Daisy who she just absolutely adores, so I knew she was going to be so excited. And we pretty much decided right then and there that we were going to do a collaboration with it when it came out. So I decided to make this first kitty an orange tabby cat, and so I'm just going to take that YR21 and draw in the orange patches. I wasn't sure exactly where I wanted them to go, so I wanted to do that with my lightest color, and then I'm going to add some shadows with the YR23, and then I'll use the YR04 for the stripes. In my last video, I mentioned that my husband and I and our infant son had spent a year living in the jungle of Cameroon, West Africa. And we had a major lizard problem in the compound where we lived. And this particular kind was pretty small. They were 5 to 6 inches in length, but they would just get everywhere. They could get under small cracks and get into everything, and they would climb up the walls and fall down on you from the ceiling, and you'd go to use the bathroom and they'd be in the toilet, and it seems funny looking back, but at the time it was really horrifying. And even though I realized this was the jungle and things weren't going to be perfect, I just didn't want them in my home. I thought since cats are good mousers, maybe they would help with the lizards. So I went to the children in the village and I told them that I was looking for a kitten, preferably female. I just thought a female cat would be nice since I was already outnumbered by my husband and son. So even though the concept of a pet was completely foreign to them, they brought me this little orange tabby cat, this little kitten, and we brought her home and we named her Josephina, and we called her Fina for short, and she played with my son, and she really did help with the lizards. It was really nice, but there was one day that she was laying out in the sun after we'd had her for a few months, so she was grown. And I never grew up with cats. I grew up with dogs, so I didn't know much about cats at the time. But she was laying on her back in the sun, and I discovered that she was not female at all. So come to realize years later that apparently all orange tabby cats are male. I did not know this, but I guess there's some scientific data behind it. But anyway, so our Josephina was a Joseph. but the nickname Fina stuck. So he looked like the cat that I did first, the larger cat, but I decided to make the little kitten an orange tabby as well. I thought maybe they could be, I guess, father and son, not mother and daughter, since they're all male. Apparently, correct me if I'm wrong. There's got to be some female orange cats out there, right? So now I'm just taking the R20 and I'm coloring in their little ears, and I'm also going to color in the noses on the two bigger cats. The small cat is already just filled in with the black stamped lines. And then I decided to go ahead and give them some rosy cheeks. I thought I would just leave the other cat that's laying on his back white. I thought he looked pretty cute the way he was, so I decided to just let him be. And then I'm just going to take the W00 and color right over that pink to kind of knock it back a little bit and make it a little less bright. So now I'm moving on to my balls of yarn, and I wanted to color them to match my pattern paper. So the first one is going to be purple, and I'm using V91, V93, V95, and V99. I really love this combo for kind of a dusty purple. So I just went darkest to lightest, and then the darkest got a little bit too knocked back for me, so I went back in with that V99 and the V95 and just feathered that color back into the light. The second one is going to be turquoise, and I'm using BG11, BG13, and BG15. And again, just darkest to lightest. It's a lot easier than trying to shade these in different directions, so I'm just putting them as if the shadow will be on the bottom. The third one is going to be pink, so I'm using RV21, RV23, and RV25, and those are going to complement the papers very nicely. For the little mouse toys, I'm using C0, C3, and C5. I'm just adding my shadow in first with the C5, then blending with the C3, and then finishing with the C0 as my highlight. And I ended up only having room for one of these on the card, but at this point I wasn't sure how many things I would need, so I decided to stamp out two. I used the R20 for the inside of the ears, and then I just die cut these out with the matching dies. So for my background, I've taken another piece of white cardstock and I've masked off the bottom with some post-it tape. And now I'm just taping down a stencil over top. This is the MFT English Brick stencil. And I wanted my background to be really soft and subtle, so I'm inking that up with some tumbled glass distress ink. And I'm just going to go over it a few times, building up some soft layers. And I will pick a couple areas here and there to add a little bit of extra color because I don't want it to be perfect. And then I can just peel off the post-it tape that I use for my mask, and I'll just reposition that on the panel so that I can mask off the brick and ink up the bottom portion. So the first color that I'm going to take is Wilted Violet, and I'm just going to start on that green post-it tape and blend off onto the bottom portion softly. But I wasn't quite achieving the color that I wanted, so I decided to bring in some milled lavender, and this was a brand new foam, so I wanted to make sure to really ink that up well. And this combo together ended up looking pretty close to the pattern paper and the cardstock that I'll be using later. So then I can just peel off that post-it tape once again, and that's the background that we're left with. Very soft and subtle, just like I wanted. So I've run that panel through my Cuttlebug with the MFT wonky stitched rectangle stacks. And I've put that in my Misty tool, and I'm going to stamp out my sentiment using some Lawn Fawn Juice Box ink. This is a really nice dark purple. And that's stamped perfectly the first time. It says "Meow you doin'," which I think is so cute. And now I can go ahead and start to set my scene. So I'm going to take my little orange tabby cat and put him over on the right, and my little white cat's going to go on the left. I added the little unraveling thread to the pink yarn ball, and then I'm just going to pop that up right over top of the white kitty. I'm going to add my little kitten right close to the orange tabbies so that they look like they're cuddling close. And then I'm going to tuck the other two yarn balls on either side of the focal panel there. And those two I attached with some Tombow Mono multi-glue. Everything else I popped up with foam tape. I'm also going to add this little mouse toy right in the little gap there between the white cat and the kitten. And then I'm going to set that aside and assemble my card. So I've die cut my pattern paper with the largest of the MFT wonky stitched rectangle dies, and I'm using this pattern in particular because Kari has mentioned in the past that it's her favorite from this whole 6x6 pad. And I'm just gluing that down to some grapesicle cardstock from MFT using the Tombow Mono multi glue once again, and I'll just smooth that into place. Then I'm going to take my focal panel and add some Scotch 3M foam tape to the back of that. And I always make sure that I have enough on there that the focal panel is well supported so nothing gets crushed if it goes through the mail. And then I'll just peel off those backer sheets and line that up in the center of my card and press it down into place. For the inside, I'm just going to pop my card back in my Misty and take that Lawn Fawn Juice Box ink once again. And I'm going to ink up an additional sentiment as well as the Sleeping Kitty. And there was a big empty space on the right side of that focal panel that was bothering me. So I decided to take these two little hearts from Meow You Doing and Elfie Selfie, and I'm going to ink those up in some bubblegum ink. I'm doing the larger one from Meow You Doing just once, and then I'll do the smaller one from Elfie Selfie twice so that I have a little trio of hearts, and that just filled in the space a little bit better, and I was much more happy with how that turned out. As a finishing touch, I'm going to take my Spectrum Noir clear glitter brush pen, and I'm going to add some sparkle to the 3 balls of yarn as well as the trio of little hearts. And that's hard to see on camera, but it really shows up well in person. And I know that Kari loves shimmer, so I definitely wanted to add it. There you can see a little bit as I lift it into the light. And that is going to complete our card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed my portion of the collaboration. I'm going to have a link in the description bar below the video to Kari's video, so I hope you'll hop on over and check that out. And if you're not a subscriber of hers already, I'd love for you to subscribe to her channel. She has great content that I know you're going to love. Here's a couple extra videos you may also be interested in, and you can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already by clicking on my photo. Have a great day. Bye-bye.